Alright, g'day guys and welcome back to another Obsidian video. Today we're going to be looking at how to add stat blocks into your notes and into your vault. And obviously stat blocks are a pretty essential part of playing tabletop RPG games. We use them for all of our monsters to see what sort of abilities they have and obviously understand how to use them at the table. And obviously being able to display them in a nicely formatted way, especially a format that sort of replicates the official content that we are used to using, is incredibly useful at the table. So we're going to be looking at a plugin called TTRPG Statblocks. This is another one that's come to us from Jeremy Valentine, so a huge thank you to Jeremy. This guy deserves a coffee. Without further ado, let's jump over and have a look. Alright, so in front of me you can see I've got TTRPG Statblocks as a note turned up, and what I want to do is basically put a stat block into this thing. So what I've done ahead of time, this is how I operate with everything, is I've created a template. So I'm going to press Alt-T, which is my hotkey for template, and I'm going to put in stat. Alright, so I can see insert monster stat block. Alright, so that puts this code in here. And you can see that's quite simple. It's just a couple of little comma things with stat block, new line, monster, semicolon, goblin, and then the closure of the little things. I need to find out what they're called, but whatever. If I preview this, you can see that instantly turns into a goblin. Now, that's easy, right? You're not going to have all these monsters loaded when it comes with you. What this is actually doing is that there's a little database in the back end. It's a JSON file that basically has all the monsters loaded into it. I've loaded all of the monsters I can find into it. And what that enables me to do now is just literally come in here and go, if I want an orc, I can do orc. Alright, now that is really handy. I think that's really cool. There is more you can do though. If we do Alt-T and do stat block again, I've got one here that I've created called insert custom monster. Customer monster. I think I need to change that to custom monster. And you can see here that this is a longer section of code, but what this is doing is allowing me to create my own custom monster. This is Jeff the Giant. He's large, he's a giant. I think we get rid of subtype, alignment, he is chaotic neutral. Alright, if we go back and have a look here, we can see that this is automatically updating. So it's really quite easy for us to really sort of bring in custom monsters and create them ourselves. And you could literally go through here and just add whatever you want. There's another cool thing you can do though. Or at least there was. Where did it go? There is a way to add these into your homebrew. Maybe I need to... Oh, over here. So see here, once I've created Jeff the Giant, I can actually go save as homebrew. Alright, that's going to be Jeff the Giant. And now when I come down here, I can just do this. I'll get rid of this one. And now we get Jeff the Giant. So obviously I haven't gone through and filled this thing out in complete detail, but you get the idea, right? Is we can create custom monsters, we can save them to our homebrew, and then we can reuse them over and over again. If you are entering monsters into this, like say you don't have a data source, then this is a way that you could certainly manually enter these into the tool. It would take you forever, so probably not recommended. But with that said, let's jump in and find out some more efficient ways to get your data into the tool. Alright, first we'll go through how to install it, I guess. So come down here to settings, community plugins, browse. And what we're actually going to do is look up one called Obsidian Brat. Some of you might already have this installed, but Obsidian Brat is for the Beta Reviewers Auto Update Tester plugin. Go ahead and install and enable this. What that does is it installs the little smiley face over here, and you click that and you can see plugins, add a beta plugin for testing. Now I've already done that, but let's just come down here to open a GitHub repository for a plugin. I'm going to grab this one here. Just going to post that there so you guys can see it. Alright, and what I do is I come over here to Obsidian Brat, I go add a beta plugin for testing, and I paste this in here. Alright, click add plugin. And what this is doing is it's pointing to the GitHub. And what you're going to see basically is that it's called 5e Statblocks. When this started out, it was designed for 5th edition, and that was it. It was only designed for 5th edition. Jeremy plays 5th edition, which is why he's obviously building for 5th edition. But he's since had a lot of requests to sort of start supporting other modules, and he's done a lot of work to sort of make this thing modular in a way that it can be manipulated for other systems. So if you're playing Pathfinder 1, Pathfinder 2, maybe some other Star Wars game or something, I know there's people out there working on variations of this plugin in order to get it working. Alright, so with that said, you've added that. That will install the plugin. Obviously you need to go through the process of making sure it's enabled. And what you should do is you should be able to see it down here. If you've done it through Obsidian Brat, it'll be called TTRPG Statblocks. If you've done it just through the community, it'll be called 5th edition Statblocks. 5th edition Statblocks has issues, alright, with the things I'm going to show you in the future. So I recommend you do this through Brat. Alright, so we can see here, here's the settings for it. Now, we had a previous video on Dice Roller. Alright, so you can come in here and you can integrate the Dice Roller. You can render the dice rolls, which makes it 3D when you click on these stat blocks. There is different layouts here. And for you Pathfinder guys, like, this is where you can mess around. And I'll just create a copy just for the sake of just having a quick look. I'm not going to go through this in detail. But this is where you can create a layout. Alright, if you're playing Pathfinder or Pathfinder 2, then I think you're going to find that, you know, the layouts aren't that different across all the systems, and especially the type of data in there that's not that different. You'll probably be able to figure this out. Alright, so it looks pretty simple. You can just come in here and add bits. You can add groups, spells, tables, text, etc. And then you just need to point to it, and you need to tell it what it's like pointing to. So this one's for save, so it points to the saves text inside of the JSON file. This is advanced stuff. Like, most of you probably just go, huh? I'm certainly looking at this and going, huh? But just know that this functionality exists, and there are people on the official Discord who are exploring with making layouts for different things. So let's get rid of that, and I'll get rid of that. I'm just going to use my default. This is what we're looking for though. Import monsters. Because obviously you need monsters inside of this thing, right? Inside of the database in order to make it useful. And there are places out there on the internet where you can find monsters. Now, before we continue down this path, I will say this. Don't pirate material, guys. Don't be that guy. Alright? Go out, buy your books, make sure you own the content that you're using. I, for one, own at least probably 3 copies of the Monster Manual at this point. Probably 4 copies of the Player Handbook. Like, that's just the nature of this, right? Is we end up having multiple copies of this data. These sites, they're probably going to have copies of data that you don't own. So my little stance here is utilize these sites, get the data that you do own, save yourself a bucket load of time. But outside of that, don't go stealing. It's not cool. Alright. The one I had the most success with to start with, was import D&D app file. Now, you might be sitting here going, well, what's an import D&D app file? Well, guys, Google is your answer for everything. If you were to go into Google and type D&D app file, then the first result that comes up here is something called the D&D app file GitHub. We can load that up. It's awfully confusing for people who don't know what they're doing. GitHub's basically a code repository where people store stuff. If you were to come along to here and go download zip from the code button, that will download that as a zip file, and once you've got that, what you're looking for is the bestiary. Alright, and you can see here that there's XML files that contain all of these monsters. Again, make sure you own this content. All you do once you've downloaded it and unzipped it is go choose files, alright, and you point to that XML file, and that will automatically import that content. Once it's imported, you come down here and you're going to have access to an absolute bucket load of monsters if you've done it right. Alright, now you can click on these little eyes to see what they look like. You can click the little edit icon to see how they're actually designed. This is the actual text that goes into making these things work. And that is super useful. Obviously, you can bring in a lot of files that way. It supports DMD app file, improved initiative, and CritterDB, and then 5e tools. The one I prefer to use is 5e tools. And yes, I know this is a contentious website, but it's incredibly handy. And frankly, I own the content, so I'm pretty happy to utilize someone else's hard work to get my content into the tool. So, 5e tools, if you don't know it, I assume most people do at this point. 5e.tools, you can Google for it as well, and effectively, look, it's just a digital playground of stuff for 5e DMs. And what we're going to look at doing though, and I'll show you how to do this because this confuses people. We're going to come in here to the Homebrew Manager, close the little ad, let this open. And basically the Homebrew Manager, Homebrew is code for everything that's not official in this tool. So we can go get Homebrew. It's going to bring up a list of all the homebrew that you can add, and this is obviously people have, you know, painstakingly put this into the tool. I like to go category, come down here to monsters, and just browse through and find the PDFs that I own. All right. Again, make sure you own the content. Don't steal. Don't be that guy. But all you can do is you click it, that loads it, done. All right. We can now come back here. We'll go to, I think, references and then bestiary. Oh, it's just slow to load. It is loading a hell of a lot of data. And a hell of a lot of ads. Everyone's got to make their money some way. Here it comes. You're probably like, whoa, what's going on here? So, let me just reset this. Clear list. Alright, so this is probably what it's going to look like the first time you come in. You might have extra content on here, but what we're going to do is we're just going to start by filtering out all the noise. So come up here to the filter button. We're going to go none. That turns off everything. Then I'm going to come in here and find the monster manual just as a good example. I'm going to click that so it's blue. I'm going to click the little tick here. And what that does is down here it brings up all the monsters from the monster manual. What I can do is click here, scroll all the way to the bottom, hold shift and click again. So I select all of them and then I can right click and go add. That adds them to my active encounter list. Once I'm here, I can click the top one again, go over to the bottom, shift click the bottom one. I can right click and I can go download JSON data. Alright, that downloads that. And now I can go back into 5e tools. I can go into my settings, I can go down to TTRPG Statblocks and come in here to import 5e tools. I can go choose file and I can point to this. Now I'm not going to do it because I've already got these installed. I'll just be overriding things. But that's it. It should basically then pop up and say, you know, imported 300 and something monsters and off you go. Once you've done that, you're going to have your list through here. You can filter on these. Some of the filters are kind of messy, but I think there's also, when you import it now, there's the ability to set a filter option. So you just put like MM for Monster Manual, for example. And then, yeah, once you're there, you know, you just come in here and do your thing. Commoner, boom, stat block. Really simple, really cool and easy to use. There is functionality in here for adding pictures. I gotta admit, I haven't actually played with it yet. I do need to learn how to do that, but apparently that is a thing. So, anyway, that's 5e Statblocks, and obviously you could go ahead and make, I guess you can make monster notes. You could just add these into your prep session where you need them. Say that you're creating a section of text, you might go something like this. Alright, so you can just expand it in and out, but you know, very, very easy. Makes obviously makes prep really simple. Alright, because adding in that that section of code doesn't take long. Again, I do highly recommend you create a template for it, just so you guys can see what I've done there with that. I'll come down here to, where is it? Where did I add you? Markdown templates. And combat templates, insert monster. Literally, it's just a template. So just a note with a name called insert monster with a stat block there. The custom monster is pretty much the same thing. And if you want to know where to get that stat block, all you do is you come down here. Sorry, you go into community plugins, you go into the notes for that plugin, and that you will find examples in the README. Alright, so you can just cut and paste that text in. There's examples here on you know exactly how to use this. Create your template so that once you've done that, you can literally just press your template hotkey and you just go insert and away you go. It's a really efficient workflow, really easy to use, and you know, Jeremy, I really appreciate your work, so thanks for everything you do. So look guys, that's been TTRPG Statblocks. Hope you've enjoyed the content. Again, just a final word, please do make sure that you own the content that you are using. I know there's nothing to stop people from doing what they're going to do, but you know, do the right thing, don't be that guy. Anyway, hope you're enjoying the content. Please do like and subscribe below. If you'd like to see more of this content, you can always reach out to me via Patreon. I always appreciate my supporters over there, and certainly enjoying working with you guys as we tackle some projects. So fantastic effort everyone. Look forward to speaking to you, and I'll see you on the forums.